Let's get an update on what's going to happen today politically, and indeed anything maybe Jonathan Reynolds has just said there. Tom Harwood's our political reporter.
Yeah, it's interesting listening there to Jonathan Reynolds, and particularly what would happen with regard to mitigating this cost of living crisis, because this is where what we hear and what we see on the front pages of our newspapers that can sometimes seem, although it's a heartstring tugging conflict, how does this affect us in this country? And for many it will be this cost of living crisis, and the idea that energy bills are rising, the idea that cost of living in general, the effect on food prices, this is where the politics is moving to. And so it's interesting to hear the political responses to those questions, the policy proposals in terms of how to deal with those questions. This is where the political battleground is moving to, because whilst still we're seeing the midst of war dominate politics, and Prime Minister's questions yesterday was almost entirely focused on foreign affairs. As this conflict drags on, this is going to become closer and closer to home.
And Tom, people just want to hear straight answers to straight questions. Boris Johnson, government, energy spokespeople, whoever, what are you going to do about these bills? 3,000 quid by the end of the year in terms of energy bills. That's not taking into account your petrol, diesel costs, that sort of thing. Travelling, because it has to go on to airlines if you ever want that holiday abroad again and whatever. So something's got to be done. Is it going to be the VAT? Is it going to be a delay on the national insurance charge? What practically is going to be done?
Well, as Jonathan Reynolds was mentioning there, the government and the Labour Party are actually now united in a way that they weren't even 10 years ago, about nuclear power, for example, and more domestic generation capacity. However, this takes time. We can't just turn on a new nuclear power station tomorrow. We need to build them. We need to fund them. These take years.
Do you see any going back on environmental promises that have been made in the past? It would be very, very embarrassing. But put it like this, I think there would be less protesters about fracking now than there would have been this time last year.
And there's certainly a huge groundswell of support, not least amongst the Parliamentary Conservative Party, for opening up fracking wells in this country, for ending that moratorium on fracking that began in 2017. There's certainly more political pressure for that because the UK sits on so much natural gas. The Business Secretary himself has said that we should be using our North Sea oil and gas reserves. But it seems a bit of a contradiction to use our North Sea gas, but not the gas that we're sitting on in this country as well. So yes, there's political pressure for that. It has to be said the government is not entertaining that so far, but I can only imagine that political pressure will grow and grow as these prices continue to rise.
Just want to know from you guys listening or watching at home, what sort of pressure do you want to bring to bear to reduce the energy prices that you are paying? What would you be prepared to do that or exceed to that you wouldn't maybe this time last year? The Twitter address is @GBNews. You can email gbviews@gbnews.uk. Tom, thanks very much indeed.